Have you ever looked at a massive skyscraper, a sprawling dam, or a high-speed rail line and just thought, how on earth do they even begin to build that? Especially when it's a German company funded by a Chinese bank building in Dubai? Well, it's not magic, it's a rulebook. Today, we are pulling back the curtain on the FIDIC Red Book, the invisible architecture holding up the world's most ambitious projects. Let's get into it.
I mean, just think about it for a second. You've got companies from totally different countries with different laws, different languages. You've got billions of dollars on the line and literally thousands of things that could go wrong. So how do you manage that kind of mind-boggling complexity?
The answer is, you do it with a plan. But it's more than a plan, it's a script. A script that everyone, and I mean everyone, agrees to follow before a single shovel ever hits the dirt. And that script, that instruction manual for global collaboration, is the FIDIC Red Book. So here's what we're going to do in this explainer. We're going to break this whole thing down into 5 simple parts. We'll start with what this rulebook actually is. Then we'll meet the key players. We'll follow the project's journey from start to finish and see what happens when things inevitably go sideways. And finally, we'll uncover one simple, brilliant idea that makes it all work. All right, first things first. What exactly are we talking about here? What is this thing called FIDIC, and why is its Red Book so important? So FIDIC is basically the global organization for consulting engineers. You can think of them as the guardians of good engineering practice. For decades, their whole mission has been to create standardized contracts that bring some much-needed clarity, fairness, and predictability to the Wild West of international construction. The Red Book is one of their masterpieces. It's the go-to contract for a specific situation, when the client, who the contract calls the employer, has already designed the project and basically says to the builder, here are the plans, build this for me. But the real genius, the secret sauce of the Red Book, is this idea of balanced risk sharing. Hold on to that thought, because we're going to come back to it. It's everything. Okay, so if the contract is a script, who are the main characters in our play? The Red Book is super clear about this. There are 3 essential roles, and everyone needs to know their part. First step, you have the employer. That's the client, right? The one with the big idea and, more importantly, the checkbook. Then you have the contractor, the expert builder who actually makes it all happen. And then you have the engineer. Now, this role is absolutely critical, and it's the one most people misunderstand. Now, you might be thinking, wait a minute, the engineer is hired and paid by the employer, so aren't they just going to do whatever the employer wants? You'd think so, right? But the Red Book has this brilliant little mechanism to make sure that doesn't happen. The fairness of the entire system hangs on this next part. And there it is. This is the absolute game changer. This one sentence legally requires the engineer to act as a neutral referee. So when there's a disagreement about money or delays or quality, the engineer can't just side with the person who signs their checks. They have to make a fair, impartial call based on the contract. This is what builds trust and makes the whole thing work. So we've got our players, we've got our referee. Let's see how the game is actually played. The Red Book lays out a really clear roadmap for the entire life of the project, from getting paid to dealing with the totally unexpected. Let's talk about getting paid. It's not just about sending an invoice and hoping for the best. The process is crystal clear. The contractor submits a detailed statement of all the work they've done. The neutral engineer then reviews it, checks it, and certifies what's fair and accurate. And only then does the employer pay that certified amount. It's a transparent system that keeps the cash flowing and protects everybody. But what happens when things change? Because let's be real, no mega project ever goes 100% according to the original plan. The contract has a specific name for this, a variation. And there's a formal process to make sure changes don't send the whole project into chaos. Change can come from 2 different directions. The engineer can order a change, a variation, and the contractor has to do it. But it's not just a top-down thing. The contractor can also propose a change through something called value engineering. Maybe they found a smarter, faster, or cheaper way to do something. It's a way to build innovation right into the contract. So how do you keep track of all this? This is the simple but brilliant key: communication. The contract demands that almost every important request, instruction, or claim has to be put in writing as a formal notice. This creates an undeniable paper trail and gets rid of all that messy he said, she said nonsense. Everything is on the record. Okay, now for the real stress test. Construction is messy. It's complicated. Delays happen. Disputes pop up. A contract's true strength is really shown when problems hit. And believe me, the Red Book is built for reality.
You name a classic project headache, and the Red Book has a playbook for it. Got delayed by something that wasn't your fault? There's a process to get an extension of time. Started digging and found some massive, unexpected boulder field? There's a clause for that. The whole point is to have a clear, agreed-upon plan before the problem even happens.
And if there's a major disagreement, the Red Book has a clear ladder to climb to avoid going straight to a huge, expensive court battle. First, the neutral engineer makes a decision. If someone doesn't like it, the dispute goes to something called a DAAB, a dispute board made of independent experts. They make a quick, binding decision to keep the project moving. Going to formal arbitration is the absolute last resort. The system is designed to solve problems, not to make lawyers rich.
But what about the truly unimaginable? What about the stuff that is completely out of anyone's control? The contract has a plan for that too. It calls them exceptional events, what a lot of people might know as force majeure.
And we're not talking about a bit of bad weather here. The contract gets specific. War, rebellion, terrorism, massive natural disasters like earthquakes and hurricanes. The Red Book actually provides a framework for how to deal with these absolute worst-case scenarios, giving a path forward when the world gets turned completely upside down. Okay, so this brings us to the end, and to the single most important idea that holds this entire thing together. Why has this one contract become the global standard? It all comes down to one powerful, elegant principle: balanced risk sharing. This is it. This is the philosophy that's woven into every single clause we've talked about. The goal is not for one side to win and the other to lose. It's not about the employer dumping all the risk on the contractor. The Red Book intelligently says, okay, who is in the best position to handle this specific risk? So the risk of a construction site accident? That's best managed by the contractor. But the risk of a delay in getting a government permit? That's on the employer. It's this fair, logical sharing of risk that builds trust and makes it possible to build incredible things. So, I'll just leave you with this final thought. We tend to think of contracts as these harsh, adversarial documents, a tool for one side to get an advantage. But the FIDIC Red Book, the very blueprint for building our modern world, suggests something else. It's a powerful argument that the biggest, most ambitious things humanity can dream up can only be built together, on a foundation of clarity, procedure, and, most importantly of all, fairness.